Welcome back to Tarot Tats and Tea. Today I'm doing a VR to Mary Grace Fahrun's 13 Real Tarot Questions. It is a really good VR, a topic. It's something meaty to get your teeth into and really valid questions that we don't often ask ourselves, let alone other people. What is asked here of us? So without further ado, I'm going to get on. I've got the questions up here on the screen, so I shall be looking there, and I've written my answers out in my notebook, so I shall be referring to this. So do excuse the head bobbing up and down. I did try to do an put my phone over my desk to film it, but it was a complete disaster, so I'm reverting back to my PC. I think I'm going to have to get some sort of device that holds my camera still and steady and it's not swinging about the place. Anyway, hello, let's get on with it. So, what is tarot to you? Well, tarot to me is a number of things. And I'm going to refer to my notes here. It's like a good friend. Because when you ask tarot a question, it'll answer you, and it will answer you rather bluntly at times, but it always gives you food for thought. It doesn't sort of give you a glib answer that an acquaintance or somebody that you might consider a friend who thinks, well, I better not tell her what I really think. Tarot will give it you and head you in the right direction. It doesn't just give you an answer, it gives you depth, it gives you something else to focus on in order to surmount an issue or a problem that you might have, or to take another route. It is my confidant. I will ask tarot questions that I might not ask other people, again for the fear of them just hearing what they want me to hear, or them thinking they're telling me what they think I want to hear, but also questions of a nature that could upset other people, if it's sort of related to myself, and say it could be a question regarding my health, but it might put worry in other people's minds, whether it's friends or family. So rather than ask others certain questions, I will ask my tarot, and it keeps my secrets. It's a guide. It's a guide that leads us in directions that we might not have considered going before. It gives us the ability to get into our subconscious and pull out answers that we might already know are there, but they just haven't come to the fore. I use this tarot deck as well because I find it's great. Not just this particular deck, but other decks as well. I find that they're great for liaising with my ancestors, communicating with my ancestors, communicating with, well, should we call it spirit, whatever you want to term it, but to speak to my past loved ones and to speak to our ancestors for guidance. I like the analogy that Grace gave us as tarot being a compass, because as I said earlier, it's a guide, and a compass does guide, so I really do like that. And if that's okay, Grace, I shall add that to my lexicon when it comes to describing what tarot is to me, because I found that very very apt indeed. So, do I read for myself or for others? Yes, I do. I read for both myself and for other people. I started reading tarot when I was 18, which is nearly not far off 40 years ago. But from my 18th, from when I first got my deck when I was 18, right up until 7 years ago, I only read for myself. Okay, the deck would come out and, with family, and not with family, with friends, and we would try to, sort of read for each other, but I only seemed to be able to liaise with it myself. And like I said, 7 years ago I took early retirement, and I have since spent my time studying tarot on a much deeper level and appreciating it far more and using it far more seriously than, as I might have deemed earlier on, frivolously. So yes, I read for myself. I now do read for others, and I enjoy doing so. Question 3. With what frequency do I read tarot for myself? Well, I don't pull a daily card. I pull a card when I feel necessary. That can sometimes be 3 or 4 times a week. Okay, if I'm having a pretty tough week, it could be 7 days a week. It can vary, but at the beginning of each week I do a reading for myself. Usually that starts off with 3 cards, and I will lay my 3 cards down and I will read those cards and I'll make my notes in my journal. But then if I've got something I want to query, or I want to ask who's watching over me, I might put 2 cards above and maybe 2 cards below, just depending what clarification I might need, or if there's any messages from my ancestors that they want me to keep a heads up for that particular week. At the beginning of the year, I always do myself a 12, a year ahead reading. I read at the full and new moons. I read at the Sabbats and solstices, and I for any big events, like for I would do readings for family events. But I read, well, I would say at least, if I was to eke it out and balance it out, I'd say it works out 4 or 5 times a week that I read tarot for myself. Okay, so what types of readings do I do? Well, for myself, I do readings, general readings, like I say, for my week. If I've got queries on my own health issues or something like that, I would do a reading on that. So let's have a look. I did write this question down. I wrote the answer down here. What type of reading? It all depends on what is being sought by myself or the querent. Ancestral readings for myself, definitely do that, working through the ancestral grimoire. General readings for others and myself. Readings based on specific subjects or questions. Health-based readings for myself. Readings for my own growth and personal development, and as I've said, such as Sabbath, full moon, etc. And I also use my cards to guide me in my writing. I'm hoping that maybe one day to have something published, but you get moments when things sort of hit the wall and you think, where can I go next? So this is my tome, and if I'm stuck, when I'm stuck, I pull out my deck and say, right, what's going to happen to this character now? And does it work? Yeah, it really does. Now, how would I, regarding what types of things do you typically consult the tarot? Well, there you go. Well, for myself, daily guidance, health issues, finances, if I've got a query over finances, questions about my family and my children, dealing with issues such as neighbours, if there's someone being arsey, when is this arsiness going to end? Peek at the week, and yes, no questions. Look, is this going to happen for me? Is that going to happen for me? Yes or no? For others, I do general readings, specific readings on subjects, and again, yes, no. How would I classify myself as a reader, i.e. book meanings, experiential, figurative, literal, etc.? Well, to be quite honest with you, it's a sort of a combination of many things, to be honest. There are times that I don't always go by the book, in the sense that go straight for the generic meaning of a card, because I think, if that's all you were going to base your readings on, you'd have many, many people coming up with exactly the same readings. So you've got to look at it from, what do you incorporate in what do I incorporate in that? Well, I incorporate a small bit of astrology, because I don't really know a lot about astrology. The little bit I do know, sometimes I might use that. But I also look at a sort of experiential, which is what I sort of experience and observe, sort of intuitive, what I sort of know without conscious reasoning. And I also, would include historical meanings or book meanings, because albeit we have historical meanings of each card, sometimes authors of different decks might put their own spin on it, you know, so that I could incorporate that too. It, like I say, it all depends on the reading. I tell you what it all depends on too is the energy I'm getting from the querent, or the energy that there is around a situation that I could be involved in. So there's a lot of things. Literal is one as well that I would use. So, you know, if somebody feels trapped in a situation and the Eight of Swords comes out, and I say, well, literally just look at this card, you need to take off that blindfold and realise that those swords are not hemming you in, you know, so looking at the imagery for literal interpretations too. What type of questions do I ask the tarot? So let me have a look, what did I put down for that? What type of questions? Yeah, okay. Depends again on the topic, so, and what I'm looking for. So if it's something to do with my own health, I might, along the lines of, how can I expect my next oncology appointment to go? What hurdles can I expect to face planning a charity event or a tarot event? What does the week ahead hold for me? Will there be any surprises on my day, in my day today, either good or bad? And of course would expand from there on in. What questions do I never ask tarot? Okay, now this one, some people would say, well, why don't you do it? Why don't you? What it is, if I'm reading for other people, I never ever address health questions. And the reason I choose not to address health questions is because I read for my own self, for my own health. I've had I retired because of a battle with cancer. I knew 5 weeks before I was diagnosed with cancer, before I'd even knew there was a problem, I knew that my job was going to end before the year was out. I didn't know why, but I knew. And I had a conversation with my mother, and she said, "What do you mean? Are you being sacked?" I said, "No." "Are you? What, have you done anything wrong?" "No." But I knew. There was something here telling me, look, things are going to change. This was in the first week of September, and 4 weeks and a few days later, I was diagnosed with cancer. And ever since then, I have done health readings for myself, and they have been very, very accurate. Because of their accuracy, and that it can cause a level of, oh goodness, how am I going to cope with this? And I'm sort of forewarned as being forearmed, so I've been able to travel this road pretty, well, to use the word comfortably would be silly, but, you know, with positivity. But I would feel if something was to appear in the cards that was going to indicate that a person in front of me had the potential to be diagnosed with what could be a life-threatening illness, I would be reluctant to tell them that. I'd prefer to leave that to the medical to the medical professionals. There's always the chance that that might not be the case, and I could have misread something. I don't think that would be many of the cases, because my own health readings have been too accurate. There's also the possibility I would cause fear, and there's also the possibility I could leave myself wide open for either public ridicule or legal action, and I don't want to step into that arena. So I give people forewarning when they come into a reading that I don't cover their personal health issues. Also, I will not answer or read. If a person comes to me for a reading, that reading is for them, not for another that they want to know a little bit about. I flatly will not do that, because that is almost like breaching GDPR rules in a sense, because, you know, you're sort of peeking into somebody's life that you might not know, but they would know, and it would be wrong, very wrong, and very, very bad to do that, in my opinion. Now, if somebody has concerns about their child's entrance into college, will my child get into college? Will they do this course? I have no problem with that one. that's putting the parent's mind at ease, or it might say, look, they need to put their finger out and do a little bit more work. Encourage them to do so, because without that work, they don't put it in, then they won't get it. If they put the work in, of course they'll get it, etc., etc. Okay, so those are the things I'm very strong about. When it comes to myself, there's no subject that I won't ask questions about. Who do I think I'm engaging with or speaking to when I read tarot? When I start my day, I start my day with a meditation. I love starting my day with a meditation. I always ask my gatekeeper to come in and make sure that anybody or anything coming through to join me means me no harm. I invite my angels, I invite my guides, I invite my father and past loved ones, I invite my ancestors, and then I invite all the ascended masters, etc., etc., and God himself, if he would like to join me. But I always feel protected, and I always feel that when I'm doing a spread, when I'm doing a reading for another person, that they are with me, and that they are guiding me, and that they are advising me, that I often say to my guides and my plethora of people in beyond the veil and ancestors, that if there's anybody that wants to give a message to the person that's coming for the reading, do so. And I do believe with all my heart that happens. I always close my reading down, I always thank them, and I always cleanse my area afterwards, in particular my querent has gone. So yes, I do believe that we're making connection with our ancestors and guides, and I do believe that, you know, well, I'll come to this. It might come to in the next question, I think, actually. What other knowledge experience do you apply to tarot readings? Right, here I put in my little modicum of astrology. I also like to include numeracy. Depending on a deck, on decks, I've got some decks that are very heavily full of packed with symbols, and it's like they're standing there going, "Don't forget about us! Don't forget about us!" So I'll bring in readings on include the meanings of the symbols. There are occasions when I do bring in a form of religion, spirituality, in the sense of advising the querent, because, you know, I'm here in a Catholic country, and, you know, people still do tend to think, oh, tarot, no, that's bad, keep it away. And if they come for reading, it's quite surprising how many people actually say, oh, you know, it's a little bit scary, or feel a little bit guilty. And well, why are you feeling like that? You know, at the end of the day, I come from the angle, you know, that the Bible was written by man, tarot decks were created by man, that they are books to guide. This is the journey of man's journey from start to end, and starting over again. How we take each day as it comes, encouraging us to use gifts and talents that we might not even be aware that we have. Similarly, you know, your book, the Bible that you read, or whatever religion you're coming from, are guides to guide you. That never stop believing in what you want to believe because you've had a tarot reading, or never feel guilty, because at the end of the day, any gifts and talents people have, I feel, are given to us from a higher being, and I do believe everybody has the ability to do that. You just need to get into their own mindset and dig deep and find it in here, open up their third eye. And yes, I still do say, you know, I'm not a practicing Catholic. I do tend to lean more to spirituality stroke paganism, in a sense, because I thank the earth for the plants for the plants and food. I thank the sky. I thank the you know, that greater sort of being or spirit that there is, as a source, if you want to call it, for what I have on a daily basis. So I bring that into, not on a heavy level, not like I'm talking now, but say, look, don't ever stop asking your God to help you. That's what he's there for. Tarot is the book of life. Where else in your world would you witness tarot? It is, as I was just saying that in the previous question, it is a book of life. It's a wondrous book of life. It's a pictorial version of any religious book, really. I do see tarot in every day, and how would I see tarot? Right. I love nature. You can't see out my back door, I've just got the bins there actually, and there's nowhere else to put those. Sorry, I'm digressing. When I sit outside in the garden, I put the bird feed out, and I do feed the crows and the ravens particularly. They always remind me of the suit of swords. So particularly since doing the ancestral work and taking in wind direction, taking in bird flight, taking in little signs that we see on the ground, butterflies, etc., etc. I do take them as symbols. And sword, if I was to see two crows, two magpies, two ravens, anything like that landing in my garden at the same time, say, oh, I might face a choice or a decision I have to make today, because they always remind me of the Two of Swords. I go to a well, and it is a religious well, it's a natural spring well that is said to have appeared on where it is up near the coastline. But when St. Patrick landed here on the shores of Ireland, and it is the water is clear, it is beautiful, and I do collect water from there. I do put it on my joints, and I do find it eases my joints. To me, that is my Ace of Cups. Cleansing, and yes, it does give you an emotional lift. I see, when I go swimming in the sea, which I do quite a lot, and I collect stones off the beach, they're my pentacles, you know, and I've come across, people might have stacked stones, or the tide might have put them in a certain way, and I think, oh, there's the Four of Pentacles. Situations that I've been in, particularly health-wise, I've come across a Five of Pentacles, the way they've been stacked. Just keep an eye on your health and your finances, Muffy, which is not you. Okay. So yes, I do see tarot in different aspects of my life. Have you experienced where tarot has correctly predicted the future, and how did you feel when it came to pass? Yes, I have. On many occasions. I think, sorry, my chair's very creaky today. I think, you know, if I didn't think tarot would give me a reading of some advice for the future, or guidance for the future, or a heads up that this or that could be happening, well, why would I be reading tarot? To tell people what's happened in their past that they already know about. I do bring things in like that, saying, look, this has occurred, for clarification purposes, that they know that I could not possibly know that information, and the tarot is showing me, you know, what to say. But I have read for my brother, who took advice and things sorted themselves out for him. I have read for my youngest son, who, when he first started college, he came home this particular day and said, Mum, would you do a reading for me? And he'd not long been in college, and I said, yes, okay. So I said, as he went to say something, I said, don't tell me anything, let me just do the reading, and then after the reading, well, if there's anything you want answering, we'll ask questions. Okay, he said. So I made us both a cup of tea. We went to the coffee table, and we took out the deck, and I did a reading for him. I told him that he was going to be asked to hold down a post of responsibility in college. And he said, well, should I take it? I said, it's up to you. How do you feel? If you feel strong enough to take it, take it. If you feel that you could do it but you need some help, choose somebody to help you. He had been asked that day to be the student rep, and he felt that he wasn't, you know, in the position that at that time to be able to do it on his own. And I said, well, there's no harm in asking somebody to work with you, and that's what he did, and he went on to have a wonderful, wonderful time in college. It was lovely. And that's another great example. I've had neighbours who've had readings where there have been a job change has come up, you know, within the next 6 months, and totally unexpected for this person, and yet in that 6 months their job changed and they've come and let me know. Relationship issues where someone's had a problem, and the cards come take this advice or don't take it, it's up to you, you have freedom of will, freedom of choice, and they've taken the advice and things have turned out exactly as the cards have said, and might have hurt them at the time, but it's opened up new roads for them. So yes, and this still happens very regularly, and even my own readings. Does tarot, how does it make me feel? It makes me feel very grateful to be able to have the ability to read tarot. It makes me feel grateful that our past loved ones are quite happy, and our ancestors and spirit guides are quite happy to say, well, okay, there you go, Elaine, we're going to entrust you with being able to pass this message on. And it never fails to make me feel happy and make me go, yeah. It's not that they never fail to surprise me, it's just that they always give me a big smile, and it's great. If you are a witch or magical practitioner, how, if applicable, does tarot fit into your magical practice? Do you know, I never really considered my practices magical until I delved even deeper into sort of the world of tarot and sort of esoterica, really. But I have always collected the water and put it out to create moon water. I have always enjoyed herbs, but now I go actively foraging and I use herbs in my cooking. I also use herbs when I'm lighting candles for protection and things. I do make, I use salts and things to put protection around my home. So where does tarot come into it? Recently, I'm working through the ancestral grimoire, as I have said, and I have taken up doing the exercise of breathing in the sun. Now, I already used to go out and call in spirits from the different compass points, but now breathing in the sun is added to that. But what I do, I take four cards that I relate to very well in tarot, and that would be the High Priestess, the Hermit, the Fool, and the High Priestess, the Hermit, the Fool, and the Strength card. And I shuffle them face down, and if my neighbours have potentially seen me in my garden, I'm not doing it for them to see because I've got big walls around my garden, but they must sort of look over and think, what the heck is she up to now? But I have, you know, the nice big RWS, and I use those, and I always put a stone on so they can't blow away. So as I shuffle them, and then I put them at north, south, west and east, and west and east. I then do my breathing, and the cards are turned over, and I ask for the strength of that the archetype of that card to boost me, to fill me, to guide me, as I do ask for sort of loosely based on shamanism, for the animals of that direction to come in and give me the strength of flight, of flight, of strength, of wisdom, etc. So, and all at the same time, whilst I'm doing that, breathing in the sun and just filling my boots. It could be a grey day, as it is today. It's supposed to be sunny today, but even being a grey day, envisaging that sun, and you almost can actually feel the warmth. So I'd have my tarot cards there. Tarot, I like candles. I do Reiki. I send distant healing for people, and when I do Reiki here, this room is usually I set up with my Reiki bed in here, and I have the blinds closed and everything. But I always ask from the majors. I ask whoever's having Reiki if they mind picking a tarot card, and I put that under the pillow, and I ask them afterwards how they feel. Some of them might have found peace and have gone into themselves, and they might have the Hermit card under their pillow. It's just little things like that. So yes, I do. Like I say, I would never really consider it as magic. It was just Elaine and her woo-woo, you know. But yeah, I quite like that term magic. I do have my altar. I do, like I say, burn candles. I do wrap bay leaves around my candles with string, writing my intentions. I do write my intentions out, or any worries I have, and I burn them in a little cauldron outside so that they go off into the ether. So yes, all those little magic practices of my tarot in all encompassed, and it makes for a very happy life. So folks, those are the 13 real tarot questions, and Grace, thank you so much for starting this. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It does make us think, it does make us look at ourselves and say, well, you know, should I be picking a card a day? Should I be reading myself a little bit more? That's up to you. You do what's good for you. So everybody, have a lovely day. Enjoy whatever you're doing. And it's Friday. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye now.